Howdy, y'all! It's me, Paul, coming all the way to tell you about the World Oddities Expo here in good old Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And it's March 1st and 2nd. There's going to be tons of spooky vendors, spooky activities, and the biggest spook of all is DJ and I will be wandering around both days. So come on down and check out all the cool vendors, the cool activities, and if you see us, come say hi. So come on down again, that's March 1st and 2nd at the David L. Lawrence Convention Center here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Get your tickets and come on down. How many times do you think I can say come on down in one advertisement? But I gotta go see a man about some roast beef. Bye!
I will come to you 3 nights in a row, and you must give of yourself freely and without reservation a McChicken, or I will destroy all that you hold dear.
All right, Grandpa, back to the nursing home.
And welcome to episode 72 of Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host,
Paul, as usual.
I remembered.
You did remember this time. That's good. So I don't know what was going on the past couple episodes, but
Okay, I'll tell you what happened the last episode was right before we did it, I listened to episode 69, which was the first time I forgot it.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think subconsciously, I thought so hard about it, I forgot it.
That happens to me too. Trust and believe, that happens to me too.
Kind of like during the Yeti when I focused so hard on not saying I said more than I ever did before.
Right. No, that's happened so much. Like when there's a problem and you're not thinking about it, you don't do it as much. But when you're thinking about it, you do it more often.
Exactly.
That happens to me all the time. Especially with my exes. When I don't think about them, it's not a problem. But the problem is when you start thinking about it, that's when the texts started going, the phone calls start happening. It's
funny you should say that because in the past 2 weeks I reached out to like 3 different past situationships
DJ!
to set up dates.
Well, I hope those go well for you. I hope it all works out.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with revisiting things sometimes.
No, because sometimes it's like, okay, like, I don't know why this didn't take off the first time. And other times it's like...
Right. Like maybe the first time around, you're busy giving handies out back to 7-Eleven, so you don't have the time to dedicate fully to someone. But when that 7-Eleven closes due to health code issues because of you giving all those handies, then you have the time frees up, and then the relationship can flourish.
It was just on the frozen taquitos. It's not like anything actually happened.
Exactly. And when they bake those taquitos...
It all dries up anyways.
Exactly, DJ. Thank you. Now, should we tell the people what's really going on here today?
Yes. Paul and I have decided to take our relationship to the next level. And we have adopted a child.
We have.
It is a boy. He weighs 2 ounces?
2 ounces.
And he measures maybe 7 inches tall.
He was a little premature. He got here earlier than expected. He did.
And for any of you who are concerned about letting me or Paul, specifically Paul, around children.
Hey, I get that, never mind.
We actually adopted a Furby.
That's right, kids. As promised, we have our very own Crips and Corks Furby.
His name is Jeremy.
Yes. Would you like to birth Jeremy out of the box?
You got a knife? I think this
I
is going to have to be...
I don't want to hurt the box. What if we want
to
put Jeremy...
I have to cut the tape.
Oh, okay, we gotta cut the tape, y'all.
Please hold. Testicular difficulties.
Okay. Let's birth our child. That, as promised with our Furby episode, we would get the Crips and Corks. Furby. Oh, Jerry.
Please don't call it Jerry. That's my father's name.
Well, then why'd you name it Jeremy?
Because my father's name is Gerard, not Jeremy.
Jeremy? Why did you even pick Jeremy?
I don't know. It just worked. Because I was making a joke about, like, haunted dolls and how they have, like, the most innocuous names.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of them do have normal names, because a lot of the haunted dolls are haunted by real...
Megan.
Well, yeah, because they're haunted by real people, DJ. Like, haunted dolls.
I think I got all the tape.
Okay, period.
Okay.
Open it up. Bring Jeremy
Hang
to the world.
on. Jesus. You're so impatient.
I should have pre-opened this.
Yeah, you're like, don't hurt the box, and I'm like...
Well, I didn't think it would be this.
This box is nearly as old as you and me.
Well, I didn't think it would be that difficult. I don't know what kind of boxing technology they had back in 1990 or wherever.
Here we go.
Oh, watch, he's like taped in there or something.
Yeah, he's taped in the bottom.
Okay.
This is going to have to be a separate video. Here you go. This is Jeremy.
The loves of our lives. Oh.
The lives of our loves.
And he will be coming with us to every single investigation from here on out.
We're going to have to put batteries in him.
No, I feel like I don't want batteries in it because I don't want it talking during the investigations. But
I thought that was the whole point.
No, the point is if it doesn't have batteries and it goes off.
Oh, jeez.
That would be spooky.
Okay.
Now, do you have anything to add about Jeremy or your week before we move into...
No, I just love him.
He is cute. I can't wait to get him out of that box. Come back for the next episode. We'll have him out of the box.
Do you have a pop culture
Yes,
corner?
I do. We have to talk about the Grammys.
Okay.
First of all, I would like to congratulate Beyonce on winning the Best Country Music Album of the Year. You deserve that with Cowboy Carter, and it was so fun to see the other country girls' faces when you won. So congratulations to Beyonce.
Show them up.
Rest in peace. Taylor Swift did not win any Grammys, but hey, you can't win them all. And if I'm being honest, Tortured Poets Department wasn't that great. It was no Midnights. Let's be real.
I enjoyed Tortured Poets Department, but I do think it's important because Taylor has taken home a Grammy every time she's put an album out ever since she started. I think it's important that she learned that you can't just get a Grammy every time.
That's true. You gotta put it in the work.
You gotta share.
Exactly.
Sharing is caring.
Exactly. Also, I went back track a little bit. That premature joke, that was because the shipping told me it would be here on like Saturday, but it got here on Tuesday. So that's why I made that premature joke, just so you guys get it now. So you can rewind and laugh later. Okay.
Before you go on with whatever you want to say about the Grammys, just while we're on the subject of Taylor Swift, I did see, going back to our ongoing reporting of the Justin Baldoni, Blake Lively case, Taylor Swift has revealed that she feels used by Blake Lively, and that she doesn't actually have a side in this, but Blake has definitely manipulated her to use her star power to get people on her side.
Exactly. Yes,
Which we did say that the last time we talked about it, and we said, Taylor, like, you have no place in this, get yourself out.
Yeah, because Blake called her dragon, and Taylor was like, I'm not your dragon, girl.
No.
And she feels manipulated, because did you hear the whole story about her having Baldoni over to her apartment and then like having Taylor come over while Baldoni is there as kind of like an intimidation tactic?
Oh, that's
like,
fucked.
Saying like, I have these like I know big people in high places, basically trying to intimidate him a little bit. Now,
but I feel like so does Justin Baldoni.
Like
not as like.
I mean, as of right. Go ahead. Sorry, say what you were going to say.
I don't think he has, like, Taylor Swift's personal number, but I feel like if it's going to become, like, look at who I know, you're two Hollywood stars. It's not like I wrote a movie.
Right.
And Leonardo DiCaprio is now trying to intimidate me.
That's very true. I'm not going to lie. At this point, I kind of am, like, leaning towards being on Baldoni's side, for sure. We'll see what other details come out, though.
Yeah, I was kind of on... After, like, the first reporting, I was like, oh my god, how awful that Blake Lively had to go through that. But now every news report that comes out...
is, like, on Baldoni's side.
And it's not... And I think that's because the facts are on his side.
Yeah, and there might come new information that might change your mind, for sure.
But for right now...
It's an ongoing
time
thing.
capsule.
Exactly.
Because, podcasts are the first rough draft of history.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. I stole it from Philip Graham, who is a famous publisher of the Washington Post. And he said newspapers are the first rough draft of history.
I like that.
I stole it and I changed it for our own.
I like that. Now, we'll speed round through the rest of the Grammys. Chappell Roan had the best performance of the night, in my opinion. Benson Boone grabbed his crotch at the end of his performance. That was good to see. And I am now obsessed with Doechii. Go watch her music video. Denial is a River. It is great. She's amazing. I had no clue who she was before the Grammys, but now I am obsessed. I watched all of her videos on TikTok. Go listen to Doechii's music. She genius. Go watch her. And that is some of my takeaways for the Grammys. I have a lot more thoughts, but maybe that's just... We're on a limited time here, guys.
Yes,
we gotta get into the spook. So, before we get into the spook, do you have anything to add?
No, I just want to get into what we're drinking.
Yes, let's get into what we're drinking.
We do have another creepy cocktail this week. We are drinking a grasshopper. It is creme de menthe, creme de cacao, and heavy cream. You add it together and you shake it and it gives you this lovely, frothy, thick, green cocktail. I'm hoping it tastes like a shamrock shake.
Yeah, it looks kind of like melted cookies and cream ice cream or melted...
Well, that's because we shaved chocolate on top.
Yeah, it looks really good.
But I hope it tastes like a melted boozy shamrock shake. So let's find out.
Cheers. These are so weird to hold. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so good, bitch. Oh my god, that's so good! That'll get you where you need to be, bitch!
Yeah, it truly does taste like a melted boozy shamrock shake.
That is, you guys, the new go-to drink for the summer, because it's like a cold drink.
Yes.
This is a great summer drink, I feel like. Now,
I will give a caveat. For those of you who have dairy issues, it does use heavy whipping cream.
Yeah.
So I know you have some tummy issues, so if you drink too many of these, you might be fucked.
Yeah, maybe not drink them at the bar. Let's say you're going to like McDonald's before the bar, and then you know what? No, ma'am.
Order a grasshopper in a bar and see what they say.
Yeah.
Just...
because a lot of bars might not have it.
I was shocked when I told you what we were having and you said you knew what it was, and I was like, how? I didn't know what it was until I watched a TV show that took place in the 1960s and somebody ordered one.
Right. This should be a more popular drink. This is really good. I could see ice cream stands like selling this as like for an adult, like if you don't want ice cream but you still want to have like a good time, get yourself a grasshopper. They're so good. It's
kind of like a mudslide.
Yeah.
But minty.
Yes. I give this 5 grapes for
I
sure.
also give it 5 grapes. If we're going to be drinking this, because we're doing a cocktail hour tonight. Not an hour. Somebody called it a cocktail hour. It's just friends coming over for drinks.
Yes.
But if this is going to be our featured cocktail, we're going to have to go and get more heavy whipping cream because I only got a small carton.
Okay. It'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
Yes. All right, Paul. Let me tell you a story.
Let's get into it.
You walk across the rolling green hills of the English countryside. You take in the smell of grass as you continue your tramp, weary of the old pits. Suddenly, you hear a faint cry. You look all around, but find you are alone. But before you can continue on, you hear it again. A faint weeping. You follow the sound as it gets louder and louder until you come to the edge of one of the old traps. You look over and are shocked to see not a predator, but a pair of children. You're about to reach down to help them out when you do a double take. Yes, like a froggy, ferny cabbage, these children are unnaturally green. Today we will be discussing the Green Children of Woolpit.
Girl, I felt like I was in Skyrim with that music, girl.
Thank you.
Do you know what Skyrim is?
Yes, I do.
I love medieval, timey feels. Have you ever... Okay,
Why have we never gone to the Ren Fair?
I was going to ask if you've ever been to medieval times.
No, I haven't.
I would go to the Ren Fair for sure.
I do have a friend who works at a medieval times, though.
Girl, medieval times is fun.
But no, I've always wanted to go to the Ren Fair, but I never have anyone to go with, and I never asked you because I thought you'd make fun of me.
I'd go to a Ren Fair. I'd have a good old time, be with the fairies and the fae folk, and do that whole thing. Yeah, but I have, honestly, back to... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've never heard of this week's topic. I don't know who the Green Children are. But I feel like this is perfect timing to go along with Wicked.
Yes.
And I'm excited.
It's very wicked, and thus the green grasshoppers.
Yes. And they're giving, like, fairy. I don't know
We'll
anything
talk about that.
them,
We'll talk about that.
Let's get into it.
So, first to describe to you, Woolpit is a village in Suffolk, England, between the towns of Bury St. Edmunds and Stowmarket. It's about 2 hours northeast of London, and I have a map up here, and we'll put it up on the screen as well. And so you can see here is the United Kingdom, this is England here, London is here, and that is Woolpit.
Okay. So it's like near the ocean.
It's kind of near the ocean, but it's more importantly, it is a rural country village. It is very small. When I say it's a village, so a town is bigger than a village.
Yes.
So to describe to you how small it is, it has a population of less than 1,000 people.
Oh, wow. It's so small.
It's small. Some of it has a tea shop. It has one pub. It has a grocery, a hairdresser, a laundromat, and I think like that's the extent of the businesses.
Where are these people working? Oh, they're probably like farmers or something. Okay.
This is a picture of like what it looks like. It is that very traditional English countryside village look.
It's really pretty. Like, that would be such a cute little town to go to and visit.
Yes.
Oh, I'm so here for that.
So it is fairly famous, though, because it was the site of the Woolpit White Bricks kilns, which have since closed. But these kilns, which made bricks, that they harvested stone and clay from the local area to make these bricks. So that dates back to the 16th century. That's the 1500s. And those bricks were used in some of the most famous manors and homes in all of Suffolk. And they were described as being nearly as beautiful as natural stone.
Okay. Interesting. Now, did they use those to build the houses?
No.
No.
Not in Woolpit itself. I don't think so.
So it's like an export. Wait, what are they using these stones for?
So Suffolk is the county.
Yeah.
So they would make the stones, the bricks. They were bricks. They would make the bricks there and then sell them to be used to make other houses around the county.
Okay, that's really interesting. And you know, it's a coincidence. I'm actually bricked up right now. Crazy.
Now, you're probably wondering where the name Woolpit came from. So, surprisingly, it does not come from wool as in the fur of sheep, like wool sweaters.
Yeah.
Okay. You just looked like you were about to respond and then didn't.
No, I was waiting.
Okay. The name actually dates all the way back to the 10th century, which is the 900s. It comes from the large pit traps around the village that were dug to prevent wolves and other predators from attacking the local livestock. Legend has it that the last wolf to be caught and killed in a pit was in Woolpit, and that is why it was named Wolf Pit, and later bastardized into Woolpit. I think.
I like Wolf Pit better. That sounds badass.
So that's
the pit?
That's the pit. Ooh. So they would dig it, and so they would kind of put branches and a piece of bait on top of it. And the wolf would step on top of it, and it was just branches, and so it'd fall in.
Oh, like those cartoons.
Exactly like that.
Oh my gosh.
Another legend is that it was named after Ulf Kettle. Sorry.
You tried to make that so fancy.
No, it's spelled like Ulf Keitel, and I was like, no, that sounds like Harvey Keitel. Ulf Kettle, who was a son-in-law and advisor to King Ethelred the Unready. Ulf Kettle was a Saxon name meaning Ulf, wolf, and kettle, trap.
Okay.
And he was the local lord of the manor.
Okay. Interesting.
So either way, that is why it's called Woolpit today.
Okay. Well, I wish they would leave the wolves alone because I appreciate a good
I don't
wolf.
think there are any natural wolves left in England.
Exactly. Or Ireland, I don't think.
No, because they were killed. They were killed off like thousands of years ago.
They really ravished those islands islands, because when I was in Ireland, there was like no wildlife. There's like no wildlife there, and that makes me really sad, actually.
There is wildlife in Ireland.
Very little. I saw like nothing.
They have like rabbits, and I think they have squirrels, and they have lots of birds, and they have deer.
But that's like small things.
Deer.
And the deer are rare.
The deer are rare. They used to have these mammoth, ginormous deer that were actually hunted to extinction. Because when I visited an Irish castle, they had this pair of antlers, and honest to God, it was like you and I combined, like our heights, across. Mm-hmm. That's how big this deer was.
That's really crazy.
Now, in addition to this long history, Woolpit has an interesting spiritual history as well. A ley line actually runs through the village.
Oh.
For those of you who don't know, a ley line are these geographic lines that run through areas, and increased paranormal activity occurs in structures and areas that lie over the ley that were built over the ley lines.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Bobby Mackey's was on a ley line.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, some really haunted shit happens on those ley lines, so that's really interesting.
There is also what is called the Lady Well. It is a well and natural spring dedicated to the Virgin Mary, as is the local church, St. Mary's. That's St. Mary's Church.
Okay.
And that is the Lady Well. It is a naturally occurring spring that produces clear, clean water, which pilgrims will pray over for miracles to occur. Apparently, it cured eye diseases.
Oh, okay. They were only concerned about the eyes. Anything else, you're fucked.
At this one. It was a major pilgrimage site in the medieval era, and it continues to attract pilgrims to this day. And the water is so cold that if you stick your hand in it, your hand will go numb very quickly. And that's how you know the miracle's going to happen.
I was cleaning my toilet today.
Oh my god. Oh my god. We're talking about a magical well, and you go to, I had my hand in my toilet.
I did.
Okay.
I flushed it first and I cleaned it first, but there was some rust at the bottom. And that water in your toilet is so cold. If you're ever bored, go stick your hand in your toilet. Make sure it's flushed, but go stick your hand in your toilet. You'll be surprised how cold that water is, because I was.
Remind me not to shake your hand today.
I just stick my hand in your drink.
Please don't. I'm actually really enjoying it. For legal purposes, Scripps and Corks does not endorse you sticking your hand in your toilet.
I said flush it first. Jeez, I'm not a monster.
And let me get back to the story.
Okay.
And in 2022, construction workers found the preserved body of a 45-year-old man buried in the fetal position from the Bronze Age. The Bronze Age occurred between 3300 and 1200 BC.
Oh, before Chuck E. Cheese.
Long before Chuck E. Cheese. Now, what makes this body really interesting was that archaeologists actually found the remains of a mausoleum or stone casing around the body. This would make it one of the first discovered burials of a burial enclosure in Britain, because during that time, you'd be buried in like garments or like a sheath.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be put in a specially built stone structure like a coffin or a mausoleum.
Oh, okay. So he must have been like special or something.
Exactly. Also around the site were found the remains of flint, which are usually found around cairns.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, cairns are like stone pyramids that are built to mark something. You see them a lot in national parks, along trails, or very famously in Scotland, they mark ancient burial sites. And so this is perhaps one of the earliest evidence of a person being buried in a specially built structure that was marked to memorialize them in the British Isles.
Okay. I'm not gonna lie, when you said Cairns, I thought you were talking about the city Cairns and pronouncing it wrong.
No.
But already we have a lot of history going on in this place.
Yes.
It runs deep. People have been there for a long, long time.
Oh, and that's the guy.
Oh, he is crouching.
Yes.
I know.
They think that he was buried in a sitting position, but as the years went on, he fell over to look like it's the fetal position, but he was buried sitting with his legs up.
That sounds exhausting. When I'm buried...
He was dead.
Yeah, but still, I want to be laying down. I want to be at comfort. I want to be at peace when I'm buried.
Okay. Put it in the will.
Period.
Now, the most famous thing to come out of Woolpit is the story of two lost children.
Ooh.
And I will be telling the story according to to contemporary historian William of Newburgh. In East Anglia, there is a village, distant, as it is said, 4 or 5 miles from the noble monastery of the blessed king and martyr Edmund. Near this place are seen some very ancient cavities called wolf pits, that is, in English, pits for wolves. This was originally written in Latin, which is why there's a translation in there.
Oh, okay.
And which give their name to the adjacent village. During harvest, while the reapers were employed in gathering in the produce of the fields, 2 children, a boy and a girl, completely green in their persons and clad in garments of a strange color and unknown materials, emerged from these excavations. While wandering through the fields in astonishment, they were seized by the reapers and conducted to the village, and many persons coming to see so novel a sight, they were kept some days without food. But when they were nearly exhausted with hunger, and yet could relish no species of support which was offered to them, it happened that some beans were brought in from the field, which they immediately seized with avidity, and examined the stalk for the pulse, but not finding it in the hollow of the stalk, they wept bitterly. Upon this, one of the bystanders, taking the beans from the pods, offered them the children, who seized them directly and ate them with pleasure. By this food they were supported for many months, until they learnt the use of bread.
Wait, so the Green Children eventually started eating bread, or they only ate the beans?
They started only eating the beans. So let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
So, it's harvest. People are out in the fields harvesting when they find these children in one of the wolf pits.
Mm-hmm.
They are wearing strange garments, and they are entirely green.
Well, they just achieved photosynthesis, DJ.
Okay. And they were speaking a strange language, like gibberish.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody could understand them. So they brought them back, and they were taken to the home of Sir Robert de Calne.
Okay.
And they tried to examine them to figure out what was going on. Who are these kids?
Like, what are they doing? What's wrong with them?
And they weren't necessarily kept from the food. It was they were brought food, and they weren't interested in the bread, the meat, the fruit. And it wasn't until somebody brought in these beans, and they recognized them, but they also didn't know how to get to the beans out of the pods. So somebody had to show them. And so then they
Okay.
spent months only eating the beans until somebody said, "Bread, good, eat."
But why didn't they do that before?
Because these kids don't speak English.
Okay, and I guess maybe they were around the
The
kids
bean,
more,
yeah.
so the kids like picked up on different mannerisms and things, and that's why they eventually picked up on that. But why are the kids green?
Let's continue the story.
Okay.
At length, by degrees, they changed their original color through the natural effect of our food and became like ourselves, and also learnt our language.
Oh.
It seemed fitting to certain discreet persons, Sir Robert, that they should receive the sacrament of baptism, which was administered accordingly. The boy, who appeared to be the younger, surviving his baptism but a little time, died prematurely. His sister, however, continued in good health and differed not in the least from the women of our own country. Afterwards, it is reported she was married at Lynn and was living a few years since, at least so they say. So, as they started eating bread and meat and vegetables or other vegetables and fruits, they started to lose their green color and they started to learn English.
So, yes, but why did he die after the baptism?
We don't quite know. He was younger. He could have been weaker from the get-go. Like they were starving before they ate the beans. So he could have just been smaller and weaker. He could have. I heard one story that unlike his sister, he refused the food, and so he might have died of malnutrition because he wasn't eating as much of the bread and meat as his sister, and he was only trying to survive in the beans, and beans only are good certain times of the year.
Yeah, and I imagine there aren't like all the nutrients you need in beans.
Oh, and I forgot to say, this is in the 1100s.
1100s? Okay.
Yes, this is in the 1100s. I should have said that.
That's okay. That's okay.
So they had no way to preserve the beans to feed them.
Oh, okay. So like in the wintertime when they're not growing beans, they're just eating bad beans, I guess.
Yeah, exactly that.
Girl.
But the girl did live, and she became totally like the rest of us, and eventually got married.
Girl, I bet their shits were crazy.
Well, William of Newburgh does not say that. But he does continue his story. Moreover, after they acquired our language, on being asked who and whence they were, they are said to have replied, "We are inhabitants of the land of St. Martin, who is regarded with peculiar veneration in the country which gave us birth." Being further asked where that land was and how they came thence hither, they answered, "We are ignorant of both those circumstances. We only remembered this, that on a certain day, when we were feeding our father's flocks in the fields, we heard a great sound, such as we are now accustomed to hear at St. Edmund's, when the bells are chiming. And whilst listening to the sound in admiration, we became on a sudden, as it were, entranced, and found ourselves among you in the fields where you were reaping." Being questioned whether in that land they believed in Christ, or whether the sun arose, they replied the country was Christian and possessed churches. But, said they, the sun does not rise upon our countrymen. Our land is little cheered by its beams. We are contented with that twilight which among you precedes the sunrise or follows the sunset. Moreover, a certain luminous country is seen not far distant from ours, and divided from it by a very considerable river. These and many other matters, too numerous to particularize, they are said to have recounted to curious inquirers. So, once they did learn the language, they were able to describe they came from a land called St. Martin's Land. It was a Christian one. They did have churches. But they lived in a perpetual twilight.
Okay.
Another story by another... I'll get into that in a bit.
I feel like they were in England, like the UK still, like the Green Children were before this time. Because them talking about seeing another land in the distance over a big river, I feel like they could be seeing like Ireland, or I'm not sure if the UK is close enough to see Europe from there.
In some places. So, some St. Martin's Land, perpetual twilight, but they are Christians. And they did come because they heard the bells. But they didn't know that then. So they come from a land with no bells.
Oh, so they heard the fun noise. And see, I could do that too when I hear like Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift. When I hear the music, I come running. So
Now,
I get it.
For those of you who think that this is a fairy tale or a folk story, this is so much more than that because it appears in actual historic records and accounts. William of Newburgh was not a creative writer. He did not write fairy tales. He was a historian. He was writing chronicles of the age he lived in. He wrote this 46 years after the children were found.
Well, why did he wait so long? See, that's my problem.
He was a child then.
So he was a child taking care of the other green children?
No, he heard about... He was from the Abbey of St. Edmunds. Mm-hmm. That next town over, there was a monastery, and he lived there. And so, when he was doing the chronicling, when he was writing down the history, he heard the story and he said, I have to include this because this is really odd.
Okay, interesting.
And the story was also recorded by Ralph of Coggeshall, who is another monk who started the Caesarean order in England.
Like the C-section?
That's Caesarean.
Yeah, that's what you said, Caesarean.
No, I said Cistercian.
Same thing.
I'm probably mispronouncing that. I'm sorry, Ralph. Now, Ralph's account was nearly identical. The only thing that differed was he did say the name of Sir Robert de Calne. Now, he was a little more removed, so he was probably able to name him. In this version, the girl doesn't say that they were entranced and they just appeared in the fields. They heard the sounds of the bells and they wandered into a cave. And they followed the sound of the bells until they came through the other side, at which point they were blinded by the sunlight, and that's how they got trapped in a wool pit, because they were so disoriented and they were blinded that they fell into it.
Oh, that's so interesting. That's like Dragon Tales.
And the woman, or the girl, is described as she grew up, becoming rather loose and wanton. Meaning she was down to plow.
She's a whore, and I'm here for that. Good for her. Who wants some of this green? Where's my jolly green giant?
There is, and I know this from TikTok. There's a German version of Wicked that somebody recorded, and in the middle of Popular, while Glinda's she does one of the "You will be popular," and then she lifts Elphaba's skirt and screams, "It is green!"
Oh my god. That's funny. That's interesting.
So that's what, when you said, taste this green, that's what I could think. Yes. That's all I could think of. Now, modern historians have studied the records and conjecture that the girl was named Agnes at her baptism, and that she married Richard Barr, who was a courtier and justice, and later settled in King's Lynn, Norfolk, about 40 miles north of Woolpit. And that she did have children and that her descendants still, live in England to this day.
And now the children weren't green, though.
No.
Okay, interesting. I got a lot of thoughts, but I'll save them for the theories.
We're getting into the theories now.
Oh, period. Let's fucking go.
So, before I get into the theories, let me just say that the theories can be separated into two very distinct categories. The first one being natural explanations.
Okay.
The second being paranormal explanations. I'm going to start with the natural explanation theories.
Okay.
The first being that this is a fairy tale.
Okay.
Many modern researchers describe the story as being a local fairy tale that took on a life of its own, and they liken it to the English fairy tale of the Babes in the Woods as either another or early version or a continuation. Babes in the Wood is a story whereby there are two orphans whose parents die, and their uncle takes them in, and then he poisons them with arsenic before dropping them in the woods to die so he can claim their inheritance.
That's crazy. Fairy tale? That's one of those dark fairy tales.
Yes, it was more a morality tale saying like you should take care of orphans.
Oh, okay, got you.
But it has evolved over time. I mean, all fairy tales start off as morality tales.
Right.
Like,
right.
if your mother says don't go in the woods, don't go in the woods.
Well, aren't all like Disney films and like things, aren't they morality films at the end of the day?
Yes. So, that's one theory.
Okay.
Another theory is that this entire story is an allegory for prejudice.
Listen up, people.
So that it actually did happen, but the children were never actually green. One sub-theory of this is that the children were actually the children of Flemish immigrants. At the time this would have occurred, it would have occurred during the prosecution of Flemish immigrants as ordered by King Henry II. And this followed, he had a civil war against his son, Henry the Young King, who was using Flemish soldiers to aid him in the uprising. So the theory is that there was a Flemish family that they settled in Fornham St. Martin's, which is a nearby town.
Mm-hmm.
That when the Flemish mercenaries did land on the orders of Henry the Young King in Suffolk, but after they lost the battle, they were all executed. And it's theorized that King Henry II's men then did start going around and murdering peaceful Flemish immigrants who had just come to like make a new life in England, and that these children parents were one of those, like two of those Flemish immigrants who were murdered. But they fled, wandered to Woolpit, and when they were found, their Flemish clothing looked different to the English peasants. Their Flemish language sounded like gibberish. They only ate beans because that's what they were used to with their parents, either because it's a thing within their Flemish culture, or maybe they just had different like agriculture up in Fornham St. Martin's.
Yes.
And that they were green due to malnutrition.
Now, where is Flem?
It's like in the Netherlands.
Now, is it called Flem? Because that's a very unfortunate name for obvious reasons.
It's not called Flanders. They're from Flanders.
Flanders.
Which is in the Netherlands.
And another unfortunate name. One of the most unfortunate characters on The Simpsons.
Well, I think Flanders was named after the place.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Lots of unfortunate things happening.
Now, another sub-theory is that other historians have conjectured was if Ralph and William used the term green to hide the fact that the children may have been Welsh, Irish, Scottish, or perhaps Saxon, as compared to the Normans who had gained power after conquering England in the previous century.
Okay.
So that they were this other, older people.
Basically, the story's about taking in people of other nationalities.
Yes.
And like helping
But rather
them.
than saying you should help your Welsh neighbors, you should help the Scots, you should help the Irish who wander.
They put it in a palatable, help the green people.
Yes, like these children were green because at the time they were both monks.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the Catholic Church, like, did get a lot of its money from the king.
Okay.
So even though they are chronicling history, they also had a total line to not get executed.
Okay, yeah. So far, that's the most plausible theory, in my opinion.
So far.
Mm-hmm.
The next theory is that they had a genetic condition.
Oh.
They could have been afflicted by methemoglobinemia, which is a genetic condition which affects the oxygenation of the blood and can make a person appear blue. And you're probably saying, well, how blue could it be? Have you ever heard of the blue fugates of Kentucky?
No. That's an actual blue person?
Yes, and that's not Photoshop. He's not dyed. That is his natural skin color.
That's insane. I can't believe he's actually that blue. That's crazy.
He is that blue.
Now, what was that big M word you just said? How do you pronounce that?
Methemoglobinemia. I
And
think.
if your loved one have been affected by methylglobinuriona, please call 1-800-LAWYERS, and we will get you the money you deserve.
Now, it's a genetic condition. It's not like you get from drinking bad water like a Camp Lejeune.
It was a mesothelioma joke.
I know. Now, perhaps, to account for the green coloring, perhaps the children had natural yellow undertones. Ladies, anyone who does makeup, you understand undertones. Even though we're white.
Yeah.
We all have natural undertones, rosy, yellow, warm, cold. So perhaps they did have that warm yellow undertone that when mixed with the blue hue from the oxygenation issue in their blood, they appeared more green.
Okay.
Now, this can be treated with vitamin C therapy, which will reduce the blue color. And the girl is known to turn a more natural color after she stopped eating the beans and eating other food, including fruit.
Oh, so she lost her color because she got the vitamin C.
I get my vitamin C from Colin behind the Denny's.
Well, that would be vitamin D.
His name is Colin.
Oh, okay. I see what you did
Yes.
there. I see.
I was inspired by when you yelled at me for doing that about the vitamin C when I was sick. And you made that same joke, but it was about like Carter or something.
I don't even remember making that joke, but
It was a couple episodes ago.
Honestly, if you didn't even say that, I wouldn't have remembered, so that's awesome.
The next theory is arsenic poisoning.
Ooh.
Remember the babies in the woods? I told you the children were poisoned by their uncle
Yeah.
with arsenic. So, one side effect of arsenic poisoning is a bluish tinge to the skin, gums, tongue, and nails.
Mm-hmm.
This theory is that the children were slowly being poisoned with arsenic before being left in the woods. Then they were probably Flemish immigrants.
It all comes back to the
Because
Flemish.
you have to explain the gibberish.
Yeah. Or they were just kids and couldn't talk.
And if anybody's saying, like, could it not have been French? No, it could not have been because the ruling class were Normans, which came from France, so there was that undercurrent of the upper classes probably did speak French or understand it.
Okay. That makes sense.
So even though the peasants who found them would say French is gibberish, once they were taken to the home of Sir Robert, he probably could have said, that's not gibberish, that's French.
It's gonna be real hard to convince me with these paranormal theories, because these first few, these normal ones.
I should have swapped them. Oh well. However, this arsenic poisoning theory is highly unlikely, as arsenic poison normally kills you pretty quickly, and it leaves more of a rash of blue splotches than an overall changing of color.
Oh.
So you'll break out in bluish splotches, your gums will turn blue, your nails will turn blue, your tongue will turn blue.
Mm-hmm.
You don't turn blue like Papa Fugate on the screen there.
Okay.
Our last natural theory is that of chlorosis. Chlorosis, or green sickness, now known as hypochromic anemia, is a condition of anemia where the red blood cells are paler than normal. Despite a historical, this is very unlikely. This has been put forward by skeptics, and I think it's been put forward by male skeptics, and I'll tell you why. Because the historical connotation is that it was called green sickness. However, this is very inaccurate. In fact, in 1714, Daniel Turner said that it should be called instead the white or pale sickness, as it caused extreme paleness rather than green hue. Oh. Furthermore, this disease has been misdiagnosed by arrogant male doctors to explain away a woman having opinions or being able to speak for herself. It was often attributed to women menstruating, presumed virgins, and other women the patriarchy deemed to be annoying.
That's crazy. It's crazy how many actual illnesses.
Literally, at one time, like in the 1600s, it was called the virgin's disease.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was diagnosed in women who didn't get married.
Mm-hmm.
And it was considered to be a hysterical syndrome.
That's crazy.
It was a part of female hysteria syndrome. And then in the 1800s, it was like a side effect of women being hysterical, and she just needs to have an orgasm.
These poor women, they've always been suffering.
So I wanted to bring this up because this has been put forward and actually on the Wikipedia for hypochromic anemia. If you scroll to the bottom to the see other, the Green Children of Woolpit comes up.
That's crazy. They're in the related topics.
Yes, but like I said, this condition though, despite being called green sickness, doesn't actually turn you all that green.
Well, the more you
And
know.
if we're going on like these really vague, maybe they were seasick.
Bitch, you aren't seasick for that long, okay? There's no way they were seasick.
I was being one of those patriarchal bros who just misdiagnosed. And also another reason why chlorosis could not be a thing was if it's a female particular disorder, like these doctors have said, why'd the boy have it?
Exactly. Wake up, sheeple.
All right, let's get into the paranormal theories.
Let's get into it.
And I hope that I can make these as interesting as the natural.
Yes.
The first one is fairies.
Okay.
The children have many things in common with traditional stories of the Fae. They have unique otherworldly clothing. They have an odd appearance that sets them apart from humans, and they speak a strange language. Furthermore, they're eating of broad beans. That's like their main food that they know. And since ancient times, broad beans have been seen as the food of the dead.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's actually really interesting. The food of the dead. I wonder why.
So it's this sort of this otherworldly food. And traditional Fae stories do have it that if a fairy eats human food, they will lose their Fae abilities and must stay in the human world. And remember, the children did not start to learn English or lose their green hue until after they started eating our food.
I like that theory.
Many historians also ascribe the children to being a link with the ancient peoples of Britain, some of which are linked directly with the Fae, such as the Celts or the Picts.
The Picts? Who are the Picts? Do you know who they are?
Yeah. So they gave the name to Pixies because an ancient Celtic term for people was seas. So they were the Pict people, the Pixies.
Oh, I love that history. I'm glad I know that now. Now, where are the Pict people from again?
They were, I don't know where they're from originally, but they landed in what is now England.
Yeah.
And they took that over, and then they moved over to Ireland.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
They came from somewhere in Maine, Europe, but they are often identified with, like, fairy people.
I like that. That's really interesting.
And some historians say that this is actually very likely that they are fairies and that the children were just a historical allegory for the earlier fairy people who the Normans had conquered.
That's crazy. The fairies were among them at the time. Mm-hmm. That's so cool. I would love to live among the fairies. Well, I do now because honestly...
Also... There are a lot of, especially in Ireland, there are these stories of the fairies who live in this other twilight world and climbing into the human world through caves. The Tuatha De Danann, very famous fairy people in Irish history and mythology, were said to, they ruled Ireland and then they moved underground and they lived in this world right underneath the ground. And they would sometimes interact with people and bring them down.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, how many stories there are of, like, not just people living underground, but, like, there being entire, like, huge cities and stuff. Now, that's getting into, like, conspiracy theories, too, because they say there's, like, aliens down there and stuff. But, hey, maybe there's something underground. We should look more into that.
My next theory is aliens.
They were green.
Green skin, strange clothes, strange language. Enough said. That's literally my note.
They colonized the aliens.
Also, you did really hit the nail on the head when you said conspiracy theories. There are a lot of ufologists who say that aliens have been making contact with humans for centuries and that there are these underground alien bases.
See, I'm here for that. I am one of those people who would watch Ancient Aliens and be like, yes, why are people not talking about this? Like, I know people hate Ancient Aliens and like, well, maybe not hate, but don't believe it. But I always believed it. I don't know. It just seems so convincing. And it's on the History Channel. Sorry, whatever. Judge me if you want, okay?
And our last theory, time warp, time travelers, or a vortex.
Time traveler? Ooh.
So, the story of going through a cave and coming to another world, or undergoing a trance and then just appearing in another world, really lends itself heavily to the children passing inadvertently through a time slip or a vortex from another dimension.
Oh, okay.
Another sub-theory of this is perhaps that they were the children of time travelers who were left behind by accident.
Damn, why didn't they just travel back and get... Well, maybe it was too late after they took the kids in. I guess they could have just
who knows who tried... Maybe they couldn't come back because like it would cause a time ripple if they came back.
They said, too late now, I guess. Sorry, little Sally Joe, and what... I wonder what their future names are.
Well, it's kind of like E.T., how like E.T. got left behind and they didn't come back for him until he sent a message.
Right.
And they had no way to make it disgraceful. This is the 1100s.
Right. It's like at the night, like end of the night at the bar when all your friends leave and they don't tell you and you get left behind at the bar.
I've done that before.
Yeah. It happens to the best of us. Sometimes it happens, you know?
So, what do you think, Paul?
I want to know, is this where the Jolly Green Giant came from?
No, they were children. They weren't that tall.
But did it stem into the... did it stem into the Jolly Green Giant? Because he's selling fruits and vegetables and shit, and they only ate beans. Is this what it came from? Okay. And
you know, I wish I had thought of this sooner and I would have made you eat the juice from a can of green beans.
I'm not gonna... Why would that... What does that have to do with anything?
Jolly Green Giant, green beans.
Yeah.
It's so we can turn green too.
I don't want to turn green. The Jolly Green Giant was already green because he came from the kids. Maybe he's the boy who didn't act... They faked his death, DJ. They faked the boy's death, and he grew up to be the Jolly Green Giant. Wake up, sheeple. You're being fed lies in the supermarket.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I do think it's probably a fairy tale / allegory. I think the Green Children were real. Maybe, probably not, but maybe I think it's an allegory in a fairy tale like most fairy tales are.
I do think they were real, but I don't know why they're green. I mean, we did discuss a lot of natural conditions under which they could have been green, and I don't know. But I do love the idea that they were an allegory by these two monks about how there is something left behind of the people who were in Britain before, lingering. And it said that's why the boy died, was that you can't completely erase history.
Right.
You can't completely colonize.
Right. Now, will I say, do I want to believe that they're fairies and everything? Because that's a lot of fun to believe and everything. Yeah, so am I going to go forward and probably believe that? Most likely, because that's such a fun story. Like the fairies crawled out of the fairy realm and into the human world, and they got indoctrinated into That's such a fun story. I love that story. Like that's so cool. So,
that's Donald Trump's wet dream.
I think the opposite would be his wet dream.
Yes, sending the Green Children back to St. Martin's land.
Donald Trump
You're right.
would have deported.
Sorry, I just heard assimilate, and I was like, that's Donald Trump's wet dream.
Oh, he wants the opposite of assimilation, girl. Yeah.
Except for Elon Musk. All right. Do you have anything else?
No, this was actually a really fun story, really amazing drink. I'm really glad, because I've never heard this story before, so I'm really glad you told it. It's a really interesting story, and I want to hear from you guys, like, if you guys have any other stories or input. Maybe you're from the UK and you've heard, like, or maybe, well, we can't even ask for sightings, I guess. But...
No, because they're dead. This is, it's a weird one because it's an unexplained, but it's also a story.
Yeah. It's really interesting. I'm gonna have to think about this one for a while. This one's a thinker.
This one, do you know what this episode as a whole is kind of giving?
What?
Newport Tower.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, it has the same vibe.
It does have that vibe, for sure.
Which I love, because that was a great episode.
Yeah, that was fun. That was my first wake up sheeple.
All right, I have one last question for you.
All right.
Smash or pass, Elphaba from Wicked?
Elphaba, smash.
Same.
Icon, legend. Specifically, Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, smash. Get into it.
Now, are you gonna, like, yell, "It's really green"?
What? No.
You're cool.
I'm a gentleman.
You're a gentleman.
And when I see...
Since when are you a gentleman?
I've always been a gentleman. Tell your friends.
There's a gentleman and this gentlewoman.
Yes. And I'm not trespassing. I'm passing, little girl.
Someone's crisscrossing tonight. Anyways, I think that's all she wrote. Please text us or DM us or email us your thoughts. If you have personal stories, please email us and follow us on all of our socials. That is all in the description below. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram and TikTok at Paulember, Paulember. And as usual, guys, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
And if you'd like to follow me, you can do so on TikTok and on Instagram at TheRealDeechPowers. And I think that's all she wrote. Oh, no. It is February still, and so we are still calling out the great work that is being done by the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. If you'd like to help out with them, please go ahead online and donate at www.ncavdv.org. And that's all she wrote.
It is the last episode of February, so go ahead and donate for the last episode of February.
And remember to keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye!
You must bounce on it. Crazy style.